Have you ever had a problem with your rain gutters overflowing? Do you have any kind of trees that in the fall lose their leaves and go all over, even into your gutters? And all summer long, all the cars driving up and down your street, causing sand and dirt to get in the air. Then it rains and it makes mud inside your gutters. So if you'll look in just a few moments, you'll see my rain gutters overflowing really close to my patio door. I'm just standing on the other side of it because it was really coming down heavy this particular day last year during the gardening season. And which is why I'm using this, because the other day when the gutters were overflowing, I had a bad back day and I didn't want to stand outside or just stand and with the camera. So I found some footage I had from last year depicting the problems that I have with my overflowing gutters. Yeah, it had been, I believe, a couple of years since I've dragged my ladder from the garage outside to clean the gutters. Because when you have issues with your knees, and you're in your 60s, you want to err on caution. You A, don't want to fall off the ladder. You B, don't want to hurt your knees anymore. And C, getting up on that first rung is always daunting. Lately, well, lately is what I mean by given the last half a decade. So now you can see it towards the front. It looks like I'm behind a waterfall now. Right there, if you see the white tarp to your left, it's coming straight down. Well, that's overflowing the gutters, edges. Well, I had a company come out when I had my roof redone many years ago, over 10, and they replaced the gutters too after the roof was redone. And I didn't really specify what to do with the older gutters. I just assumed they would take them away, you know, like roofing people. They take the old roof and they take the stuff away and they put the new roof on. Well, I figured that's what they would do with the gutters. But it wasn't the case. They left the gutters on the deck. And I went, did they forget? Did the young guy forget? Now, I could have called the company. Now it's hitting my patio door. That's how badly it's overflowing. So I didn't want to call the company because I like to MacGyver things. And I looked at those gutters and thought, the old gutters that they took down. And I thought, this might be something I can use again for some application. I didn't know what. But so needless to say, I took the gutters and I put them under my deck. So under my deck is over 4 feet tall. I'm 5'2", and I can almost stand up. Right. Well, if I get between the rafters, I could stand up. So ordinarily I have to just have a slight bend. So I put them under there and I thought, yeah, I'll store them there in case I could use them again. And if I can't, I'll make a run to the scrap metal place and get rid of them that way. So I thought, I need a rain barrel. And they're too costly to get a rain barrel up here. I'm only going to spend that kind of money to catch rain. And I didn't want to have a bunch of buckets all over the deck to catch the rain. And you get a better outcome if you catch it from the roof, flowing through your gutters and into a vessel. So I had a garbage can and I MacGyvered it into a rain barrel, but I needed to elongate my guttering to reach the rain barrel out into my yard. So I took the old guttering that they left behind and some zip ties, and I MacGyvered it all the way down, probably over 20 feet at least, and it worked fine as kind. And every fall, this is what I get all over. And the trees are getting bigger and bigger. And they are sort of leaning towards my house. The trees from the other side of my fence. And I have bought items that you place in the downspout of your gutter to keep the leaves out, but nothing worked until this. I ordered this from Lee Valley. Now it has a siphon or something that goes down into the hole, and the top part keeps the leaves and dirt supposedly from going down, but there's a bit of space in between the end of the gutter, and that would be like, that's not my gutter. I just wanted to depict and show you how it looks at the very end of my gutter, and it pours out like that at the very end, right there by my patio door. Not good, not good at all. And I knew I had to get that cleaned somehow, because I had little maple trees growing out. So this is not my roof, but just a picture to depict what I have to deal with. So ordinarily I would get up there year after year, and I even bought screens to the top to put on the top of the gutters, and that didn't work for me because the dirt and everything got in there anyway, and the little seedlings would get down in there and grow, and just didn't work for me. So, and that's pretty much what I was faced with, to get up there on a ladder and use my hands to dig it out. Big chunks of compost almost. Yeah, compost is what I call it. Because between the leaves and the dirt and the sand and the, maybe not sand, but the dirt and the dust and whatever else gets blown in there, it composts. And it really does compost. And the seedlings grow. And then the little birds get up in there and they're pecking things because there's living things in there. So the company that left the guttering on my deck and I put it underneath my deck for later use came into play for later use. I wanted to elongate the guttering so it would go into my rain barrel inside my yard. So I happily put the different pieces together and added duct tape and twist ties or zip ties to the fence to hold it up, and it worked fine as kind for many, many years until this spring when I rehooked up my garbage can, and guess what? Not a drop of water was in it. I had to figure out what was wrong. The first thought was, because this particular garbage can was left outdoors all winter, that there was a leak in there. So I lugged it up to the deck, which wasn't an easy task for me to do. And I got it up there, put a little water in it, and it didn't leak. So I had to figure out what's going on. Now, I knew the gutter was full at the top and it wasn't fully working properly. And then I noticed this gap here in this guttering. Yes, folks, gap in the guttering. So I donned my umbrella when it started to rain, went down there in the rain, and looked at it, and water was pouring out of that gap. Okay, so I got some new twist ties and tried to shore it up, but that didn't work. It was still pouring. So then I got another idea. There were two things I needed to address. I needed to re-duct tape this guttering, and I needed to clean out the gutter from the top of the deck. Now, I didn't want to get on the ladder. No, I didn't. I was fighting my brain tooth and nail, so I didn't go up the gutter. And as you can see, that goes, I'm angling under my deck with the camera. So here's my thought. I would remove the one screw holding this one particular section together to the other sections, and I would flip it over. As you can tell in this picture, I just took it and flipped it over. I'm pointing at it. And it's supposed to rain off and on all this week, so hopefully some of the rainwater will go into that barrel while I wait on part 2 solution. Instant waterproof repair tape. A good friend of mine, Babette is in the garden, suggested this particular tape. She had seen someone do a video and said it works wonders. to look for it on Amazon. So while I waited for my sore back to repair itself, I waited on Amazon to deliver my repair tape for my guttering, because I think it will work better than just plain duct tape will. And plus, it's not hot enough outside for the duct tape to really adhere to the material that the gutter is made out of, because when it heats up it sort of sticks really well, but it's not warm enough for that to happen. So the tape arrived. Now the guttering has to be dry and clean. So I thought I would remove that part that I didn't put the piece back together. Ooh, I gotta look for that screw I took out. I think it's still in my pants pocket. Yeah, I better find that before it goes up in the washing machine. Oh my God, and then I got another problem. But take it apart, and I wanted to do that today, but my back is just not happy with me from yesterday. I was doing gardening, folks. I was messing with soil, getting my hands in the soil. Last year's soil that I just dumped over the deck into an area where I saved soil, and I'll talk about that later in a gardening video. Back to these gutters. I needed a way to clean the gutter out without getting on the ladder. So since I love to MacGyver things and have all kinds of things in my garage, I have this and that and the other in my garage that I save. So I took a bamboo pole, I cut an old hose, and I threaded some wire coat hanger down the hose at the one end of the hose to give it stability so I could give it a bend. And then I put zip ties all along. And you know as well as I do, as soon as you cut the ends off those zip ties, it becomes sharp and pointy and cuts your hands open. So then I duct taped all along the pole where I put the zip ties. So then I needed the hook. So I took the hose that now had the metal coat hanger inside it to a certain extent, and I bent it, and it held the bend. And I thought, well, I'm going to need a zip tie or something to really hold it in place when I go to shove it. But I had originally made another design with a broom handle that no longer had the broom. I'll insert that here. You can laugh and giggle all you want, but I love coming up with silly things like this. So I took the broom handle, which was only about 3.5 feet, not even 4 feet tall, and I took a metal coat hanger and duct taped it, and there's a hole in the broom handle, and it came through and it wrapped around, and it wasn't going anywhere. And then I put the duct tape around it. Well, that would work, but I'd still have to get up on the ladder. Wasn't long enough. So then I thought, well, how do I make it longer? And I thought, I have to scrap this idea. So I removed the metal coat hanger from the end of the broom handle, and I attached it to the end of this new MacGyver tool I was going to use. And it was plenty long enough to stand on my deck, just reach up gently, and I could reach the gutters, and I could gently pull the leaves out, and my bent coat hanger was going to facilitate the leaves to fall out, but not the dirt. Now, I had no idea how much dirt was up there because I hadn't been up there yet, but just from the resistance I was feeling from my MacGyver leaf remover tool, I knew there was quite a bit of compost, let's say, up there. And it's not just leaves. So my tool did remove the leaves beautifully, and they fell down and worked well, but not well enough to get the dirt, because it had been up there for a couple of years, and it wasn't going anywhere. I needed to get up there with my hands. So when all's said and done, I had to drag that old ladder out and crawl up that ladder, which I did, and get my hands and get that compost out of my gutter. Yeah. Now I usually wear gloves for this, and if I do this in the fall when it's cold and wet, I will use the rubber gloves that keep your hands dry. But this particular chore, I had to get in there with my fingertips, and gloves just weren't going to work. And I don't have an adversity to dirt, because I play in the dirt all summer long gardening. So I just got in there with one hand, held onto the roof with the other, dug my fingers down in and scooped up the compost, threw it on the deck, which I would put on my compost bin. So I got it cleaned out on that end, not the other end, just the one end. The other end, oddly enough, was not bad at all. It had all rained. It rained to this end, where my patio door was. You know, when some weather channels say, it gonna rain, and it did last year. We haven't really had that much rain this year. We've had spits. It's been spitting at us, but that's pretty much it. Not even enough to fill, well, maybe it would have filled the last rain we had, would have filled my water barrel, which I fully expected it to be full before all this started, but it wasn't. It had 3 drops in there. I knew I had to do something. So I had a difficult time trying to find out where to put this pole that I MacGyvered so you could see it in the picture. And I did raise up the zip ties from the band to the pole. I raised it up because I had it too low. Of course I had it too low. And it worked great. It really did. If there were only leaves in there and no dirt and mud and compost by about 3 inches deep, some places 4 inches deep, which created a perfect environment for all those tiny maple trees to start growing inside my gutter. Perfect seedling little starter kit, my gutter. But I got her clean. Now it hasn't rained yet enough to test it.